Hello, welcome to another episode of Context. I'm Dilek Tuna. Ukraine has signed its first natural gas supply agreement with SOCAR Energy Ukraine, a subsidiary of Azerbaijan state oil company, a move that may quietly reshape energy flows in Eastern Europe. And for the first time, gas is flowing via the Transbulan corridor using the Bulgaria-Romania-Ukraine route. While framed as the test shipment, the development is symbolically and strategically significant. It signals both Kyiv's growing energy independence from Russia and Baku's rising significance as a regional energy partner, with broader implications for Europe's gas diversification goals. Today, we'll attempt to uncover what this agreement represents and what it means strategically in the energy map of the region. So joining me today is John Roberts, Energy Security Specialist from Methinks, Scotland, UK, and Murat Muradov, Deputy Director at Topchubashov Centre from Baku, Azerbaijan. Thanks for joining us on the programme, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, John, what's the strategic significance of the Transbalkan corridor coming online in this way?
Two things. First of all, of course, it brings Azerbaijan into the Ukraine equation. And that is very symbolic, precisely because Azerbaijan has always had, shall we say, good but delicate relations with Russia. It has provided humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. Now it is providing physical assistance to Ukraine. I think this is very important. The other thing, of course, is that the route that it will be used to get the gas to Ukraine is the Transbalkan pipeline, which was originally built by Gazprom to carry Russian gas south. Now it's going to be carrying Azerbaijani gas north.
Okay. And Murat, what message does this agreement with SOCAR send to Moscow and to Europe?
Well, I think that Azerbaijan, since the very start of the Russia's aggression against Ukraine, has reiterated that our cooperation with Ukraine carries bilateral character, and it's focused on mutually beneficial issues, be it economic, be it political. Of course, Azerbaijan has regularly provided humanitarian aid to Ukraine, as also my colleague has mentioned. So I don't think that Azerbaijan intends to send, let's say, a message to Russia, and I think this step is just a logical consequence of Baku's long-term policy. And since Ukraine is Baku's strategic partner for decades, of course, it's just another sign of Azerbaijan's commitment to its partnerships. And of course, it's a big help to fledgling Ukrainian energy industry in such a difficult moment of the country's history. And to Russia, I mean, of course, now we can read many Russian experts and journalists claiming it as another sign of Baku's unfriendliness or hostility. Also, I think it's business, and Moscow should understand that it cannot control Azerbaijan's geo-economic strategy, the deals to make, and I think just it's not Moscow business to indicate Baku where to sell oil and gas and where not to.
Okay. And John, how viable is this route in the long term, both in volume and infrastructure?
In terms of infrastructure, it's not too bad. Volume is a far more complicated issue. Essentially, Azerbaijan is limited in its production ability because it needs fresh investment for new fields. We know the resource base is there already. There's more gas in Shah Deniz, there's more gas in Absheron, and there's an entire field underneath the ACG oil field that could be extracted. But all of these take time, and all of them require investment. And the problem here is the limited amount of international investment available, not least because institutions like the European Investment Bank simply will not allow investment in fossil fuel development. So Azerbaijan has a problem in getting the investment required for a major increase in gas production. In the meantime, it is trying to push every molecule it possibly can westwards towards Turkey. It has developed something like 12 to 15 customers throughout Europe, which is extremely good, but it can only get very small extra amounts into the system because of production problems. It is trying to ameliorate this by producing more renewable energy for electrification, and that, it hopes, will take some of the pressure off gas, freeing up a bit of gas extra to go into the pipeline systems to Turkey. But it's going to be hard work, and I think it will take time to build, by which I mean years, to build up the sales to Ukraine into substantial volumes, unless it diverts gas that is currently going to other customers for one reason or another, so that it can serve more gas into Ukraine.
So you say it's limited in production and it needs fresh investment. What are the prospects of Azerbaijan increasing investments? What avenues does it possibly have, or could it explore?
It can explore two things. The first thing it can do is it can go to the EBRD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is still just about putting some money into fossil fuels. But again, it's a chicken and egg situation. You need to have both the promise of investment and the promise of firm long-term contracts in order to secure that kind of investment. The second thing is that it could go to some of the companies involved. Now, is BP, for example, in a position to put more money in to fresh investment in Shah Deniz? It has got one program, the compression program, that is costing it several $100 million. Can it come up with more money for further development of Shah Deniz or for development of ACG deep gas? That puts BP in a tough position because on the one hand, it's a proven resource, but it's an expensive resource. It's technically difficult, that's why it's expensive. It's doable, but it does need money.
Okay. And Murat, is this part of a larger strategy by Naftogaz to diversify energy supply and secure resilience?
Definitely. So Ukraine, I think, especially has stopped purchasing gas from Russia. It has been working hard on diversifying its import sources. And, like, for example, Ukraine has also started to buy gas from Norway and from a number of other European suppliers. For this purpose, EBRD provided Ukraine with a number of loans, guaranteed also by some European countries, Norway, Germany, Great Britain, and some others, to purchase gas. Exactly. So the last one was around 300 million euros, provided early 2025 to purchase 1.5 billion cubic meters of gas. So yeah, of course. Maintaining regular gas flows to the Ukrainian economy is one of the vital pillars of the country's security. In the face of intensifying, let's say, Russian military campaign. And there have been also talks about Ukraine getting stronger access to the Mediterranean gas pipelines, including those which are in the South Gas Corridor, but also Romanian gas, and potentially gas which is now being exploited to the eastern coast of Bulgaria, the Black Sea. So keep definitely eyes this dimension as also important geographically, because previously gas to Ukraine was provided from the east then Ukraine started to buy as Norwegian gas from the coming from the northwest. So the southern dimension also ensures some geographical diversification of supplies, which means, of course, more robust security in the face of regular Russian drone attacks, etc.
Okay. And John, does this move deepen SOCAR's mark in European energy markets?
Yes, it certainly does. I think we may well also see is that if Ukraine needs to get more gas in via the Transbalkan pipeline, we are likely to see increased purchases of LNG coming up from Alexandroupolis, then over to Bulgaria and then up the Transbalkan line. So the Transbalkan line is going to become very important in reverse mode. As for SOCAR, it is pioneering this route, and it may yet have a role in LNG because SOCAR is actually a buyer and trader of LNG, buyer, trader, and seller of LNG. So it may well become involved in purchase of LNG for delivery to Ukraine.
Okay, and Murat, how important is Azerbaijan in Kyiv's energy diplomacy moving forward?
I think it's another element in Azerbaijan's strategy for securing its role as a crucial energy provider to Europe. And okay, if we go back to like 3 years earlier, so the first step, Baku established itself as a partial alternative to Russia for Europe, which started to apply sanctions with the purpose of gradually decoupling itself from Russian gas supplies. So this, this is a new stage. So where Baku starts to supply Kiev directly with gas, and of course, it's it's very important not only for Ukraine itself, but also for Europe, for which basically ensuring, let's say, Ukraine energy security is one of the priorities, especially now when, for example, Ukraine faces certain difficulties and strains in getting the military aid it needs from the Western countries. So that's why energy security is playing an even more important role for now. And of course, if we talk about the relationship between Ukraine and Azerbaijan bilaterally, but also, we know that these two countries are part of the Guam bloc of 4 countries, which also includes Georgia and Moldova. Although the organization itself, has in recent years has not been so active, and on the national stage, still the philosophy of it. So the ensuring security of the countries which are border with Russia, and also face a number of geopolitical challenges. It's not gone, and it's there, and the nature of challenges which those countries have been facing for years, I think it just now has a new scope, and that's why I think Ukraine counts on Baku as potentially an important partner along with a range of different dimensions.
Okay. And John, could this corridor reduce Ukraine's historical dependence on Russian transit infrastructure?
Absolutely. I think Ukraine's reliance on Russia has already come to an end now that it no longer transits Russian gas. I think it's very hard to envisage, even under conditions of peace, that much trade with Russia will resume in the same manner as it did before. So energy trade, I think, will be strictly limited. I think we will see more gas coming up through the Transbalkan line, as Murat has pointed out, from Bulgaria, also from the new Neptune field that Romania is producing. And the next point, of course, is that as Turkey's Sakarya field in the Black Sea comes online, it's already online, but ramps up to full production, that will ease Turkey's requirements for LNG, and that frees up LNG supplies for Ukraine.
Okay. And Murat, could this open the door to broader trade or political cooperation between Ukraine and Azerbaijan?
Yes, hopefully. I think Ukraine has always been very interested in developing its economic relationship with Azerbaijan. We can remember, for example, that just shortly before the war started in January 2022, President Aliyev was in Kiev for this official visit, and the country signed an agreement about the lease of agricultural lands, by Azerbaijan for a number of years. Of course, the deal hasn't materialized yet because of the tragic circumstances of the war. But still, even so, Kyiv has been maintaining its economic diplomacy with Baku. Recently, we saw Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs and the city guy visiting our country, and where parties also agreed to intensify economic cooperation among others. Also recently, there were interparliamentary contacts in Baku. I think Kyiv really intends to prioritize partnership with Baku, especially given that Azerbaijan, I think, has maintained all the commitments it made as a partner. And we can remember that Baku undertook the reconstruction of a school in Irpin, one of the cities very badly damaged during the first stage of Russian aggression. And so, saying so, Azerbaijan is the only Post-Soviet country, beyond the Baltic states, which are part of the EU now, who really invested into Ukrainian reconstruction, and that's why I think also for Kyiv, this becomes a priority direction in this, for economic activity. Of course, also due to the war and the widespread destruction, of course, Ukraine's capacity as a trade partner for now quite limited. But still, very recently, Ukraine has been supplying a number of Western countries with very high quality plastics, especially used in mining and construction pipes, specifically, which and Ukrainian producers are among the best ones, for example, in the sector. So, and they continue exporting even, despite the massive foreign needs of the economy. So yeah, I think definitely there's greater potential for this cooperation.
Okay. And John, what role does Bulgaria and Romania's participation play in strengthening regional energy security?
Oh, quite considerable, both in terms of transit countries, but I think in the long run, much more in terms of potential contributors to actual production in the region. We know that the Bulgarians are looking to develop their fields that they have recently started testing. They haven't yet formally announced any discoveries, but the prospects look very good. And at the same time, Romania is actively developing its Neptune prospect. The potential in the Black Sea is beginning to look extremely good, and thus it's quite reasonable to presume that both Romania and Bulgaria will play a major role in production in the area, as indeed will Turkey. So all of those elements mean we are seeing an increased role both in production and in transportation. And this will help reduce, as it were, the isolation of Ukraine, and enable it to cement stronger ties to replace those that it used to have with Russia.
And Murat, does the success of this shipment suggest a more permanent rerouting of regional gas trade?
I would say, yeah, it's just an episode in the protracted process of basically rerouting of European gas supplies, mostly from Russia to Turkey. So of course, Turkey is not a producer per se, but it's increasingly becoming a large hub of gas. Which now brings together Russian, Azerbaijani sources. But now Ankara has been like waging intense energy diplomacy with Turkmenistan also to ensure the start of gas supplies from this country to east of the Caspian. And the recent visit of Turkmen, the leader, Secretary Muhammad to Baku, is also, I think, related to the diplomacy and should be understood as part of this process, which may end up in tens of billions of cubic meters of gas also joining this streams going through Turkey to European markets. So, and we see that Russia, especially European sanctions have been gradually piling up. And for example, Ukraine also refusing to transit Russian gas anymore. So, Russia now has to also resort to Turkey as, say, a facilitator for a national gas trade. So I think Ankara's long-term vision and also it's a partnership it built with the EU at the same time while also retaining its relations with Moscow have enabled it, to become a crucial, center. Of course, it will also entail many geopolitical consequences. We see also Turkey becoming increasingly active as a, international mediator, peacemaker, and including Russia, Ukraine. So recently there was another meeting in Istanbul. But I think definitely, Turkey will emerge as one of the parties which gained in this geopolitical reshuffling.
Okay. And John, could this be a template for how middle-sized regional powers reshape energy geography through cooperation?
Yes, I think that's a good way of putting it, because that's exactly what Azerbaijan is. It's a middle-sized producer. It has constraints on its production, but the way it is leveraging what it can produce is very significant. It is distributing to a wide variety of customers. It has a very strong case for saying that further development requires long-term contracts that the European Union, for example, essentially opposes. And if it wins that case, it will prove the power of a medium-sized producer to shape the market over and beyond the simple supply of 12 or 13 BCM. So I think, yes, Azerbaijan is reshaping the market quite effectively, and it may have an even bigger impact if it prompts the European Union to accept, as it once did, the idea of long-term contracts in order to bolster investment in gas exploration. But I'd say in gas production. But I would say one thing. We've been focusing all the time on fossil fuels because that's what's important with Ukraine right now. But Azerbaijan is also pushing renewables, and it regards both gas development and renewables development as complementary to each other.
Okay. All right, John, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Murat, a big thank you to you as well for your contribution and time.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
That brings us to the end of another episode of Context. Until next time, thanks for watching.